What do you think is the kilometer per hour difference between that car up there and this over here? Well, first things first, this is the Mahindra XUV400. It's based on the XUV300. It's an all-electric, and the headlining figures, well, they are quite impressive. So 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 8.3 seconds, 456 kilometers of range, 0 to 80% charge in just 50 minutes. Impressive figures. Can this be your only car? We answer that and also tell you what the difference between this 0 kmph and its top speed is. Write down your guesses right now. We'll come to it at the end of this video. Trust me, you're going to be impressed by that figure. Now, when you base your pure electric vehicle on an existing ICE platform, then of course you need to differentiate it somehow. And well, usual differentiators are there on the XUV400 of course, but Mahindra has done it a little bit different. So yes, the grille is blanked out and you only have a small little air intake in there for cooling. But where other manufacturers are using blue and green to signify an electric vehicle, Mahindra has gone for a copper color. Now, copper is a great conductor used in almost all electronics, so that makes a lot of sense. And you can see there's plenty of copper accents all around the vehicle. So the logo, like I said, on the grille here and on the bumpers on the front of the car. And you'll see more as we move to the side. On the side of the XUV400 is one of the places where it's, well, really hard to distinguish it from the XUV300. Not too much change, of course, the copper accents both on the side skirting and on the roof. The roof one really looks nice in my opinion, but I wish they had done something to those alloy wheels. 16-inch dual tone alloy wheels, but doesn't really shout electric, do they? One angle where the XUV400 looks different from the XUV300 is from the rear, and that's because that section there has grown. It's no longer a sub 4 meter car, it's now 4,200 millimeters long. That's because it doesn't need to qualify, or rather doesn't qualify for excise benefits being an electric. That space means, well, the rear looks the same, but there is one crucial difference, and when you come in, you'll see there's a lot more boot space. As you can see, it's a much more spacious boot than the XUV300. It's over 100 liters larger in size. So nice depth, enough space for, well, plenty of luggage.
It's a deep boot though with a high loading lip, but you do also get a space saver spare wheel under the boot, so you can't really fault Mahindra too much for their packaging.
On the inside of the XUV400, there are a lot of things to like, but there are some misses as well. So we'll first start off with the good news. So everything feels nice and solid. There's soft materials wherever all your touch points. So on the steering wheel, armrest, on the door pads here as well. Yes, it's a very old school design, a lot of buttons, which I personally quite like, but the design is very old. Still, it feels solidly put together. So that's one of the good things. You do get some features. So there's auto wipers, auto headlamps as well, but then you start missing things that we've gotten accustomed to with, well, or rather spoiled with cars in the market right now. So no air-cooled seats, no wireless charging. Yes, you have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, but that's also won't be wireless. The touchscreen itself is pretty old school. There is time before this car does hit the market, so that may change. Right now, it's still missing some software updates to do with the electric cars. So there's very little information for battery. You just have one little indicator here showing the battery percentage, and there are some on the black and white display as well, digital display, but it's a monotone digital display. There are meters there, but those also are not functional yet, so we can't really tell you well how that's going to look or how it functions. So yes, lots to like, but you are going to miss out on those few creature comforts. So staying with the positives and negatives theme in the rear, well, the balance is a little more 50-50 in the rear. So start again with the positives. The good thing is that there's plenty of space here. So lots of leg room, a little bit of space underneath the front seat where I can put my feet under. So it's comfortable, a nice angle to the seat recline. But one thing that's really nice is this again is an ICE platform modified for an electric. So the batteries are under the floor there. and that hasn't compromised under thigh support too much. So I have a reasonable hip angle here. We have seen other ICE cars which have been adapted having very weird hip angles because the floor has risen up in size and holding those batteries underneath there. So that's not a problem here. It is fairly comfortable, but on a hot day like this, we are missing those rear AC vents, and there are no charge sockets either, nor any place to keep a cell phone. Yes, door pockets have space for bottles, full 1 liter bottle will fit there. But like I said, it's more of a 50-50 balance. So good things and a few misses as well. So now time to talk about numbers on paper. So 150 horsepower, 310 Newton meters of torque, and there are 3 drive modes: fun, fast and fearless. Much more sensible drive modes than the ones you get on the XUV400. You can easily tell which one is which. They also adjust regen, acceleration, throttle response, etc. There is also an L drive mode. Now we'll come to that part a little bit later in the driving experience. I'll just go through the rest of the stats. So that's a 39.4 kilowatt hour battery, and Mahindra say that's good for 456 kilometers under RI test conditions. Of course, we said 8.3 seconds 0 to 100. That's one of those headlining figures. Let's just talk a little bit about charge times now. 13 hours if you charge from a domestic 15 ampere plug point. 6.5 hours if you charge from a slightly faster, from a fast charger, 50 kilowatt hour fast charger. It will go from 0 to 80% in 50 minutes. But that's specs on a piece of paper. Let's talk about the driving experience. Starting with the good news, all those specs on paper, the 150 horsepower, the 0 to 100 in 8.3 seconds. I believe those numbers. So 0 to 100 acceleration off from a standing start is really quick. It's exciting. You can feel the car throwing you back in the seat as you go down the tarmac. It's very smooth also. So for an electric, that's a good thing. It's a nice smooth acceleration. In terms of that horsepower and the way it puts that power down on the ground, it's quite exciting. So there is a dynamic handling track here where you could actually push the car to its limits, and those limits are quite high. So it's a lot of fun to drive. Now we are driving this car in ideal conditions on specific test tracks to handle specific scenarios. But from initial impressions over here, that should translate to a very good handling car, good behavior both in the city and on the highway. So a great car to drive in real world conditions as well. So let's start with city driving. We did do a little bit of slow driving around here as well with some speed breakers. There were some set up potholes. And in terms of ride quality, it feels quite nicely set up. So it absorbs those bumps, went over the speed breakers very smoothly, no noise from the suspension.
Again, I have to stress that these impressions are from simulated road conditions at a test facility. So we will reserve judgment for when we can have a proper real-world test.
Moving on to the drive modes. So we have fun, fast and fearless. Fun is the more economical mode, you could say. Throttle response is much more gentle, and since we had the luxury of having that high-speed track, fun mode tops out at 90 to 95 kilometers per hour. Fast is the normal mode that you would drive in. It's the mode that the car starts up in, and it's a little quicker throttle response, nice and easy to drive still, and also that tops out again on the high-speed track at about 130 kilometers per hour. And if fast tops out at 130 kilometers per hour, well, that's already faster than its nearest rival, the Nexon EV Max. So that means, well, Fearless is a lot faster, but we'll leave that figure till right at the end of the video because I have a clip of us doing that. The other thing that we were going to talk about is the L mode. So the L mode is supposed to be that one pedal mode wherein you can just back off the throttle and it'll start regenerative braking so hard that the car will actually come to a stop. So you could use just one pedal in any traffic situation in the city. In experience, it was okay. It did have a reasonable amount of regenerative braking, but not a true one pedal scenario like we've seen in cars like maybe the Volvo XC40 Recharge, for example. Finally, we're coming to that fearless mode. We had it out, of course, on the high speed track. We weren't allowed to go full speed on the corners, but down the straights, we did hit the top speed, and that's limited at 160 kilometers per hour, just short of 160 kilometers per hour. So that is a very, very fast car as well. So the XUV400 offers you plenty, be it in terms of performance, range, or even the fun factor. It ranks pleasingly high. Yes, it does miss out on a few creature comforts that we've grown accustomed to, but in terms of being your only car, even though it's an electric, it still offers you a lot. If Mahindra can price it aggressively, and that price again is coming to you in January, they could really have a winner on their hands.